When we last left Catwoman at the end of her first series, she was broken and in a hobo's shopping cart, and that was in July of 2001. The next month, a backup started in Detective Comics 759 called Trail of the Catwoman, written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by Darwin Cook, in which Slam Bradley, a Golden Age character who's been kicking around the DC universe for a while, is hired to find out what happened to Catwoman. And what does he and we as the audience find out? Basically slowly summarizing everything that's happened in the previous series. Seriously, it's kind of an odd break because it's literally series ends, 3 months backup story, new series starts. I think it was because they wanted to go into a new direction with the character, so it was easier to just have this give a summary of the important bits before the new one. So let's dive into this new series. Ed Brubaker and Darwin Cook start the series going with a 4-part story, Anodyne, where Selina Kyle is talking to Dr. Leslie Tompkins about how it's been a few months since she put on the costume and how it's building up for her. But instead of going into her old costume, with the newfound nature of where she stands, she gets a new outfit, which has become her latest iconic look, the leather zip-up catsuit and the goggles that actually do some things eventually. Oh, and she also has those foot knives that Will Smith had in Wild Wild West for climbing and stuff. But enough of that. So Selina's back in the East End district of Gotham, where her year 1 origin story from '89 was set, and where she starts living with Holly Robinson again. If you haven't gone back and listened to my first video, Holly was a girl she was living with when she decided to become Catwoman the first time. Aside from the freshly dug up setting, we actually get a plot that someone's murdering hookers right in Selina's neighborhood, so she's on the case, stealing intel from the cops and trying to solve the case since the cops won't because they're just, best way to phrase it, came straight from one of the cops on the scene. Eventually, Selina discovers the culprit is an unfortunate man that is very similar to Clayface, being able to mold himself into any look, and feeling a good sense about doing right without just taking, she dives off into the night. After that first story, Darwin Cook leaves to be replaced by Brad Rader. After a one-off story where Catwoman brings down a drug smuggling ring that uses kids as mules and some dirty cops aplenty, we get an appearance by Slam Bradley, who becomes a series regular. Issues 6 through 9, Disguises, gives us a look into Holly Robinson and how she does work for Selina, including an interesting bit about how being an ex-junkie, she still sees the world in junkie vision. Basically knowing, okay, they're doing a handoff, that's where to score and everything like that. But while doing her duty for Selina, she witnesses cops execute an undercover cop and even gets shot in the process. Selina, after taking Holly to Leslie, goes to Slam Bradley since he's the one building a case against Gotham City Police Department. Together, they team up with Crispin Allen, who was sent down to investigate the East End Police Department to take down some very crooked cops. And it seems that Black Mask is the kingpin of East End, including using those crooked cops. And I'd get my ear chewed off if I didn't mention that this is when we find out that Holly is in a relationship with her friend Karen, who's a woman. Okay, that's mentioned, moving on. There's another couple of one-off stories, one with Selina helping a childhood friend escape custody and running off to Portugal, and another where she steals a jade cat, saves an old acquaintance, humiliates an old enemy, and the feds all at the same time just for fun. Issues 12 through 16, called Relentless, has Cameron Stewart as head artist. We start with Selina Kyle debuting to Slam Leslie and Holly, her East End community center. Incidentally, a kid stealing Leslie's purse leads Selina back to her roots in Alleytown, which is basically the old ghetto of Gotham, as a friend actually restarted the kid's gang. Meanwhile, Maggie Kyle comes back with her husband. It goes as good as you'd guess. The community center gets bombed, and Maggie and Simon, that's her husband, are kidnapped. Slam gets slammed by a car, saving Holly's life, and we learn that it's Sylvia, Selina's old friend, who's working for the man Selina stole some diamonds from, Black Mask. Again. So, pushed to the brink, Catwoman saves her only friends, leading to the apparent death of Black Mask, and Holly shoots Sylvia. Maggie is sent to a psychiatric center, and Slam and Selina share a kiss. So the next story, No Easy Way Down, issues 17 to 19, has another artistic change of guard, with Javier Pulido on call. This is the immediate follow-up to the whole Relentless storyline, told more episodically, meaning that in each issue there is a section showcasing each person's point of view, like Holly starting to slip back into her junkie behavior, Slam trying to figure out whether or not him and Selina's current tryst is a good idea, while he still works on some disappointing gold digger case, to even Selina's numbness to the whole of everything, to the point where she eventually decides to just start stealing again. Batman goes to her to give her the nudge, but Karen being on her couch when she gets back is what pushes her to go see Holly, and it all just fits together so the healing can begin. Were I going to do gimmicks for these videos, here's where I would have a wheel of artists, just for the fact that every storyline coming out seems to have a different artist, only this time it's Cameron Stewart again. Only instead of trying to be an off-brand Darwin Cook like last time, Stewart seems to be going for a unique feel. So Wild Ride, issues 20 to 24, starts with Selina and Holly taking a road trip to upstate New York, where they meet up with Ted Grant, as in the hero known as Wildcat, as in the guy that has trained pretty much everyone, as in the guy that actually trained Selina in the original miniseries, again talked about last video, who is now going to start training Holly. They then bounce over to Keystone City for a team-up with Captain Cold to try and steal Jake Garrick's old helmet from a museum, with hilarious consequences. Then we get a brief intermission with Slam and Bradley having a dick measuring contest over Selina before Selina and Holly make it to Opal City. In Opal, they run into Bobo Benetti, an ally of the original Starman, who of course knows who Catwoman is. But even more importantly, a subplot that started when Catwoman nearly got killed in New York by some not quite Egyptian cat statue really picks up with the not quite Arabic attackers finally springing on her, though she kicks their butt again with Bobo's help. And finally she ends her holiday in St. Roche, which is pretty much New Orleans if we need to have a real world comparison. Ted Grant meets up with Catwoman there, and together they go to talk to Hawkman and Hawkgirl about the cat statue. But the real treat is that this entire road trip was so Selina could track down Holly's estranged brother Davey. It's actually really quite touching scene. And so after a girls' night out, Selina and Holly head back to Gotham, but so do the evil Egyptian cat cult. Jimmy Palmiotti and Paul Gulacy take up art for the next run, where Catwoman shows the Mafia that replaced Black Mask that the East End is her turf, and she's not going to have innocent lives be lost because of them. They counter, to Penguin's reluctance admittedly, by sending Zeiss, a super badass who has goggles that allow him to see in freeze frame, as well as heightened nerve system for fast reflexes, and abs you could grind Emma Frost on. Unlike the previous stories, which were pretty much set as multiple parts, single stories, issue 25 begins with a single story over multiple issues without so much serializing it, leading to longer arcs such as this one, starting off with issue 25 through 30, dealing with the Zeiss situation before she's saved and taken to the cat cult hideout and explained that she's the chosen one for their goddess in issue 31. Having been wherever the cat cult stayed for over a month, with everyone thinking she's dead, issue 32 has Bruce giving Selina a night truly just for her. So happy that she's alive. Slam makes up with his son, who's a Metropolis police officer and came back after Slam got stabbed by Zeiss during the whole thing, and Holly has been pretending to be Catwoman while she was gone. Issue 33 has Diego almost taking the spot of Paul Gulacy on art just for this issue, which focuses all on Catwoman going back to what got Zeiss after her in the beginning, taking on the Mafia as run by Junior Galante. And issues 34 through 36 are from the Bat Event War Games, but unlike the last volume where the crossovers would be literal continuations, breaking up the ongoing stories to tell about Batman searching for a cure with minor Catwoman involvement, this is more of a tie-in issue than a real Part 7, since Catwoman is just trying to keep the peace in East End while the new gang war of Gotham rages. Though she does run into Stephanie Brown, formerly Robin, who did actually sort of start the whole thing, but only because Bruce Wayne didn't tell anybody anything. I'll eventually cover that storyline. What I truly enjoy about Catwoman during War Game is that she actually got an earpiece to Oracle, which just shows how she's truly embraced being a positive person and an actual part of the Bat family. We also see the return of Black Mask to the series, and Catwoman gets to go one-on-one with Zeiss again, kicking his booty relatively easily this time. Issue 37 gives Selina a breather after the gang war when Holly throws her a surprise birthday party. It's actually a really sweet thing that works so well since this is Ed Brubaker's last issue on the series, and it works to show all he's done for the supporting characters as well as Selina's relationship with them. Issues 38 through 40 is a three-part storyline called Three-Piece Suit by Scott Morris, and Diego Olmos comes back for pencils. A guy with wooden arms calling himself Wooden Nickel is trying to figure out the identity of Catwoman for the Three-Piece Suit's insurance agency who covered the capes and cowls damages or something like that. It's actually kind of a neat idea. Then we have Of Cats and Dogs, issues 41 and 42, with yet another changeover to Matteo Casali writing and Brad Walker on art, though Palmiotti does stay on as inker. In this two-parter, Selina uncovers who's been killing more hooers in East End, only for it to lead to a dogfighting ring. Interesting. Number 43 is a fun one-shot teaming up Onyx, who protects the Hills district of Gotham, and Catwoman, who have to take out Killer Croc, who's working for Black Mask. Will Pfeiffer becomes head writer, with Peter Woods taking over as artist with issue 44, starting with the One You Love storyline, which starts with people like the ventriloquist, Scarface, and some dude in a jetpack causing trouble in the East End. Hush comes around and makes an offer to get the Black Mask's eye off of East End if Catwoman steals something from him. Something for him. That something is the guy I called Clayface from way back at the start of this volume, but she fails to deliver, so he calls all of his criminal friends from everywhere, Coast City, Keystone City, Star City, everywhere, and tells them that East End has one protector who isn't Batman. So while Hush is off doing the Hush storyline for Batman, to do the right thing for East End, Catwoman joins a group of villains led by Dr. Hugo Strange. Though with the help of Clayface, who wants to become a better person, she's able to get the villains either in custody or scared off of East End for now. Issues 50 through 52, Backward Masking, the JLA has Selina mind-altered to be a hero, negating all of the character building leading to this point. Okay, to be fair, I think it was a tie-in with the Identity Crisis event, since they did the same thing to Dr. Light after some unfortunate things. But really? So now Selina doesn't know if she's a hero or a villain. To make matters worse, Black Mask is gunning for her again, only still wanting to just hurt her even more. He sends Slam Bradley to the hospital, he targets Holly, and nearly kills Slam's son. There's only one way out Selina can see. Issue 52 ends with Selina placing a bullet between Black Mask's eyes, and that's when we enter 1 year later. Issue 53 gives us the lay of the land with the new art team of David Lopez on pencils and Alvaro Lopez on inks. Will Pfeiffer does return as writer though, that's a plus. Selina is no longer Catwoman. She's living in uptown Gotham and she has a bouncing baby girl named Helena. Holly is currently under the skin-tight leather catsuit. Angleman, having waited over a year for his revenge, finally takes it out and nearly gets it, but Holly slips out. Not before the film freak captures it on camera and shows an unmasked, though mostly in shadows, Holly beating up Angleman. So film freak and Angleman team up, and even get a video of Selina and Holly both in costume meeting. Fun little thing I love in this, Selina has a problem fitting into her catsuit because of the baby weight. Just thought that was kind of funny. Since Selina Kyle is now going by Irina Dubovna, thanks to the classic film Cat People, Film Freak makes the connection and goes to her apartment, holding Helena hostage. Selina saves Helena and even calls in Zatanna to mind-wipe them so they forget about her secret identity altogether. Angleman gives himself up, but Film Freak begins to go on a murderous spree, using scenes from classic movies turned deadlier. While all that is going on, Holly is arrested in her Catwoman outfit and is being charged with the murder of Black Mask. So Selina does what she does best. She breaks in and steals Holly out of the interrogation room, and with that out of the way, she can finally focus on Film Freak before he can detonate a nuke all Sideshow Bob-like. And all of that spanned from issue 53 to 61, though the Helena stuff is in a more meanwhile sense. Issue 62, Sons and Daughters, is where we finally uncover the biggest mystery of the 1 year later gap. Who is Helena Kyle's father? Well, the answer, my friends, isn't Batman. Though Wikipedia does put forth that postulation, as well as those that like the whole Helena Kyle angle from Earth 2, say that it is. Sad to say, it's Slam Bradley Jr., Slam's son, who during the 1 year gap had a heat of the moment one night stand with Selina before he died. I think I'll weigh in on this a little later, but it wasn't bad the way they handled it. From issues 63 to 65, we have The Paperweight, which tells the arduous tale of how Selina has to go steal a snow globe from Lex Luthor. The problem being that Lex doesn't run LexCorp anymore, so she has to break into a vault only Superman could get into. But while Selina's gone, Holly bites off more than she can chew in Catwoman Dies, when Hammer and Sickle escape their super prison to go after Catwoman. Holly isn't as good as Selina and gets owned until Selina appears and kicks some butt, but the Ruskies kidnap Helena and thus begins a fight for her life. They eventually do KO the Psycho Soviets, but after that there's no way back to their little slice of heaven. So Karen's in the hospital, Holly's off doing whatever she's doing during Amazon's attack, and well, Selina gets drafted by Batman to join the Bana and stop a terrorist attack in Gotham during issues 70 and 71, Life During Wartime. Yes, it's a tie-in to Amazon's attack, and yes, I will probably cover that eventually. However, in all that time, Selina finally starts to really truly worry about Helena's safety in being Catwoman's daughter. Issue 71 has Bruce arrange the apparent death of Selina and Helena, but even that doesn't stop Selina's nightmares. The first issue of the three-part Crime Pays storyline, issue 72, is heartbreaking as Selina makes a final decision to put Helena up for adoption, even going to Zatanna to try and get her to erase her memories of Helena so it doesn't hurt less. But Zatanna couldn't even if she wanted to. Luckily for Selina though, a new criminal calling himself the Thief is gunning for her to get her mind off things. Right before this storyline can really wrap itself up, Deadshot and Captain Boomerang knock out Selina and take her to the prison planet at the end of issue 74. What's the prison planet, you ask? Check out the Salvation Run miniseries for answers. Though in short, all the villains are exiled off-planet for being ne'er-do-wells. Granted, Catwoman's there under the assumption that she's still evil, so, whatever. Issue 75 through 77 has her joining up with Lex's faction on the planet, mostly just to try and find a way off the rock, and she sorta does. She hops down a hole, and Cheetah accidentally starts up a machine, and Catwoman wakes up in Gotham. A Gotham anyways. However, this Gotham, where her sister is a feared, murderous Catwoman, and Selina is able to easily walk through the Justice League, trying to take her out, is all in her mind. Obviously. Martian Manhunter actually helps her get out of that world because it drains her life away. Yeah, seriously. Next, in the long road back, she gets back to Earth and starts gunning for the thief again, as though she was only on a holiday. How'd she get back to Earth? Well, honestly, for the emotional weight it does put on her after she gets back to Earth, it's not really so much explained. So what happened? Well, in the Salvation Run miniseries, she gives up that Martian Manhunter is posing as Blockbuster, which actually leads to his death in Final Crisis. And the final story in the last 3 issues of the series proper is Final Jeopardy, issue 80 to 82. The first issue wraps up the thief storyline with her coming back at him with a vengeance, since she now is back at her prime. She outsmarts him, kicks his butt, blows up his apartment, and then has the cops arrest him. 81 is her showing off full well that she's done playing the good little kitty, stealing paintings and cop cars, even doing a job with the calculator who screws her over a few times, so some light leverage makes up for that. However, all this builds to Batman having to confront her, and the official final issue, Batman chases Catwoman through East End, until finally she gets cornered and has to actually talk through her problems. She brings up how not having Helena is hurting her, but it was for the best because underneath it all she's Catwoman, and Batman understands this better than anyone else. So, she steals the Batmobile and goes for a joyride. And that's when the series ended in 2008. But wait, there is a fun-filled special issue 83 that came during the Blackest Night storyline in 2010. Blackest Night was when all the important dead people came back because of the Black Lantern rings as emotion-feasting zombies. So obviously, what dead person would be best matched to take revenge and eat Selina's heart? Why, none other than Black Mask. But since Selina is only feeling willpower when fighting him, he decides to go after someone who we haven't seen in the series in a while, Maggie. But Catwoman isn't alone as she calls up Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn to help save her sister from the psychotic corpse. They do eventually trap Black Mask in a giant plant, but now Maggie knows that her life went wrong because of the demon known as Catwoman. And that is the final ongoing series before New 52. Over in the Bat titles during this time, she is still featured heavily as a pseudo-antagonist, but mostly she and Bruce would just have been a relationship sort, which does lead to the Heart of Hush storyline. Also probably something that's quite interesting is that with the Return of Bruce Wayne storyline, building in Batman number 695 and through 697, actually has her getting a sidekick, Catgirl. But that, dear viewers, are tales from another day. Next week, we will see what happened to Selina Kyle and the Catwoman name when DC Universe began anew in the New 52. Yeah, I actually can't wait either. And please, if you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a share, and subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps, so that I can put forth more content and get a better editing software than I have. Believe me, I'm using Movie Maker. I know I suck. And with that, we also have a Patreon where you can pick what next retrospective we can do, as well as several other shows run by the Comic Archivist. And like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and as always, stay golden, Inklings.